That same day, 2 of Jesus' followers were walking to the village of Emmaus, 7 miles from Jerusalem. As they walked along, they were talking about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things, Jesus himself suddenly came and began walking with them. But God kept them from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing so intently as you walk along?" They stopped short, sadness written across their faces. Then one of them, Cleopas, replied, "You must be the only person in Jerusalem who hasn't heard about all the things that have happened there the last few days." "What things?" Jesus asked. "The things that happened to Jesus, the man from Nazareth," they said. "He was a prophet who did powerful miracles, and he was a mighty teacher in the eyes of God and all the people. But our leading priests and other religious leaders handed him over to be condemned to death, and they crucified him. We had hoped he was the Messiah who had come to rescue Israel. This all happened 3 days ago. Then some women from our group of his followers were at his tomb early this morning, and they came back with an amazing report. They said his body was missing, and they had seen angels who told them Jesus is alive. Some of our men ran out to see, and sure enough, his body was gone, just as the women had said. Then Jesus said to them, 'You foolish people, you find it so hard to believe all that the prophets wrote in the Scriptures. Wasn't it clearly predicted that the Messiah would have to suffer all these things before entering his glory?' Then Jesus took them through the writings of Moses and all the prophets, explaining from all the Scriptures the things concerning himself. By this time, they were nearing Emmaus and the end of their journey. Jesus acted as if he were going on, but they begged him to stay. 'Stay the night with us, since it is getting late.' So he went home with them. As they sat down to eat, he took the bread and blessed it. Then he broke it and gave it to them. Suddenly their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and at that moment he disappeared. They said to each other, 'Didn't our hearts burn within us as he talked with us on the road and explained the Scriptures to us?' And within the hour, they were on their way back to Jerusalem. They found the 11 disciples and the others who had gathered with them, who said, 'The Lord has really risen. He appeared to Peter.' Then the 2 from Emmaus told their story of how Jesus had appeared to them as they were walking along the road, and how they had recognized him as he was breaking the bread. And this story of these 2 disciples, if it were like 500 pages longer, it would be a novel that would be called literature, and you'd have to read, it would have the name Dickens or Bronte or one of those people. It's got all the twists and turns. It's got, they're at the top of the world, and then they're at the bottom of the world. It's got human failure, shattered dreams, sorrow, puzzlement, unexpected twists and turns, this mysterious stranger who turns out to be somebody they knew. And that's what I love about this video we watched, that the mask prevented her from knowing that was her dad. Right there, catching the ball. Well, picking up the ball because she couldn't throw it far enough. But, and so it has, in this story, it has all these twists and turns. And the way Luke tells it, he tells it in such short, succinct way. But we have all these things. And so we have this, and it really was the surprise of a lifetime. And what happened, one of the things is, it says, God kept them from recognizing Jesus. And we don't know how God did that, but somehow they didn't recognize Jesus. And the reason, there's a good reason why God kept them from recognizing Jesus. Think of that video we watched. Think of how different that story would be if she knew her dad was there. If she had gotten together with her dad the night before when he actually came home, and they would have had their tearful reunion, back at the hotel or back at home, and then came out, it just would have been a neat story. Kid throws first pitch to dad who just came home from Afghanistan. But think of what happened, how different it was that she didn't know that was her dad. For one, we would have missed out on that really neat scene. It would have never, might have got a blurb on the news or on the internet, but they wouldn't have featured it as a story on the evening news. And so by preventing these two disciples from knowing this is Jesus, what we get is their whole encounter with Jesus and them not knowing it's Jesus, this mysterious stranger, that only later do they look back and say, our hearts were burning as he was speaking. We didn't even know it. And go back. If you look at that picture, that obviously that's Jesus in the middle because he's wearing the white. And the two, they're like walking sideways, staring at him, not knowing it's Jesus. But the artist did a good job of portraying them being excited. Never mind the setting of the picture is actually the Swiss countryside, and not that's because there are no giant oak trees and winding paths and creeks, bubbling creeks in around Jerusalem. That isn't there. But the artist, it was painted by a Swiss artist who wanted to put these Bible scenes into the setting where he lived in Switzerland. And so we have that, they're just intent, staring at him, listening, walking sideways as he walks along. But God prevented them. This whole story would not happen if they had recognized Jesus right away. Oh, hey, Jesus, we heard you'd risen from the dead. Here you are. And there would have been no reason for him to explain all of this stuff, what happened. And so we get that. And then these two disciples, this is a great mystery on who these two disciples are. It says here, this is from John 19. Standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. There's a comma. So Mary's sister is not Mary, the wife of Clopas. They're two different. There's Mary, his mother. There's her sister. Then there's Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. Now, Clopas is a variant spelling on Cleopas. It's the same name. It's just spelled one letter different. So it's possible that this Cleopas and the person walking are a husband and wife, walking back to Emmaus, which we don't even know where Emmaus was. There's a couple different ideas on that, but it's just a village near Jerusalem. There were all kinds of them. So I'm just going to go with that this is a husband and wife. They're walking away. They're possibly, if it is this husband and wife, they've witnessed the crucifixion, and it's possible they're friends with, like Mary and Martha. There's this whole crowd. There's the Galilee crowd, which is centered on the disciples and the family of Jesus, all those people up there. But there is this people Jesus knows around Jerusalem, Mary, Martha, Lazarus. It's possible this is Cleopas and Mary, and they're part of that same kind of small group around Jerusalem that knows Jesus. So they're walking along, and Jesus comes up and he's acting dumb, and they say, "You must be the only person in Jerusalem who hasn't heard about all the things that have happened there the last few days." It's all the talk of Jerusalem. Think of when something happens here in town. Certain things are all the talk of town. Nobody outside of Fairfield knows. Nobody outside, we got a little controversy with some things being built, a little controversy on people's behavior north of town. When I go to drill, a guard drill, people, all of us from Fairfield, this is what we talk about these things. People who aren't from Fairfield, they're like, the who? The what? Well, I don't know. They don't. But it's like, how could you be in Jerusalem the last 3 days and not know what happened? It's what everybody's talking about. But here's the question. This is one of those cases where everyone who thinks they know what's going on don't know what's going on, and the one person everybody thinks doesn't know what's going on is really the only person who really knows what's going on. Jesus is really the only person who knows what's going on here. All of the rest are just awash in confusion. They don't know. They don't know. And there's a statement. I'm just wondering about these two disciples. Here's my question. Why did they leave Jerusalem? Why did they decide to go back at this time? we'll come back to it. It boggles my mind why they would leave at this moment. And we're going to come to that, but I have a sneaky suspicion on why they would leave. It says, we had hoped he was the Messiah who had come to rescue Israel. The grammar of that had hoped, it's something called the imperfect tense, like not perfect. And what it means is that it's something that happened in the past that was never completed. It's a job that's been abandoned, if you think of it that way. You know, I had been building something, and now it's just the partially done thing that I never got back to. We had hoped. They don't hope anymore. Now think about it. They don't hope anymore. They've lost their hope. They've given up on their hope. They've left their hope behind, incomplete in the past. Look at this. It says, this is what happened. Now remember, this is Easter. This is the same day. This is still the day of the resurrection. The women go to the tomb. It says, the women said, his body is missing. So I'm thinking the first thought that would come to these two disciples would be, his body is missing. They took it. Wasn't it bad enough? They killed him. Now they've taken his body. A generation after Martin Luther lived, there was fighting between the Catholics and the Lutherans in Germany and the Catholics from France. And Charles was the name of the Roman emperor, the king of France. And they defeated the Lutheran army and they went into Wittenberg, where Luther was from. And lots of his people with Charles said, there's Luther's grave, dig up his body and desecrate it, cut it up into pieces and burn it. Then they will have nowhere to go to say, here's where Luther's buried. Charles V, thankfully, his response was, why? He's dead. What would be our reason for doing that? But that's the way some people think. And so when the women came back and said his body is missing, it would be natural for the disciples to think, wasn't it enough for the religious authorities and the Romans? They killed him. Now did they have to steal his body and take? We don't even have his body. We don't even have a place to go to grieve. But the women went on. They said they had seen angels who told them Jesus is alive. Angels told them Jesus was alive. They didn't see Jesus. That report hasn't come back yet. All they've seen is an empty tomb and some angels that other people have to take it that they weren't hallucinating, that this wasn't just a hallucination from desperation that Jesus is alive. These angels said, Jesus is alive. And so then, of course, some of our men ran out to see, and sure enough, his body was gone, just as the women had said. Sure, the body's gone. They don't verify what the angels said. They verify the body is gone. So here are these two disciples. Now imagine this. They're not part of the 12. They're not, Judas is gone, so it's the 11 now. They're not part of the 11. They're just some other disciples. And they're gathered, all the disciples are gathered together. And the women go, and they see the open tomb. They see Jesus is gone. They see something, these angels, that says Jesus is risen from the dead. He's alive. He's not dead. I know you saw him die, but he's not dead. He's alive. They come back and say this. Some of the men run out, and they're like, yep, sure enough, the tomb is empty. They come back and say, yep, the tomb is empty. And then these two disciples say, wow, okay, well, I guess we're going to go home now. That doesn't make sense. Except for, we had hoped. We don't hope anymore. We've lost our hope. We saw Jesus die. Everybody else is going crazy. Somebody stole his body. So we're just going to go home. And so I imagine them walking on the road, and I'm imagining them as a husband and wife walking down the road, walking home, wondering what they're talking about. Are they talking about, what are we going to do now? All our hopes and dreams for life were in Jesus, and now He's gone. And I'm thinking of somebody's lost a job. They have a long time, and all of a sudden it's like, this is the job I was going to retire from. Now what do I do? That's their, or are they talking about what happened here? That his body's gone. This is the strangest thing that's ever happened. What happened to his body? And I don't know what to think of these women. Angels? I don't even know if I believe in angels. What do they mean they saw angels? So what they're talking about everything probably except, you know what? Jesus is alive. We better watch the road. We might see Him. That's the only thing they're not talking about. Their hopes and dreams have been shattered. Their plan for what's going to happen in their lives are gone. And they're walking on this road, and this mysterious stranger comes up and starts talking to them. He acts like he doesn't know what's been going on. So they've been talking something about what happened, the crucifixion, the trial, all these things. How could it be the religious leaders didn't get it? Those horrible Romans, every time we got somebody good coming here to help us, the Romans kill them. Talking about that, Jesus acts like He doesn't know what they're talking about. And then he proceeds to tell them that everything in the Bible, for them that would be what we call the Old Testament, everything in the Old Testament is leading to the Messiah. That's all there is. That's the whole point of the story, he tells them. It's all leading to Him. And then, I just love that line. He acted as if he was going to go on. They're like, no, stay. They don't want this conversation to end. And so they invite him into their house. And this is so strange. We've all had dinner guests at our house. How many times does the dinner guest go in your house and take over the dinner? That's what he did. He went in and he sits down. He takes the bread. He blesses it and he breaks it. And their eyes are opened. They said he was revealed in the breaking of the bread. And we got kind of two different circumstances where we think of Jesus and breaking bread. One, just a couple nights before they had the Last Supper. Now, these disciples were probably not at the Last Supper. They're not part of the 12. So they probably weren't even at the Last Supper. And so this really isn't, they're not having communion, but it's very communion-like. And the other time is when Jesus fed the 5,000. He takes the bread, he blesses it, he breaks it, and it went from a kid's lunch into an all-you-can-eat buffet. And their eyes are opened. And both of those are revealings of Jesus. In the one, He is revealed, in the feeding of the 5,000, He's revealed as this miracle worker that can feed the hungry, can multiply the bread. In the other, He is revealed, He said, this is my body given for you, for the forgiveness of sins. He's revealed in a completely different way, more than just earthly, but in a cosmic sense even there. They're revealing there. And they run back and they tell everybody that Jesus is alive, and they're like, yeah, we know Peter saw Him too. Because when they left, like I said, they left before Jesus appeared to anybody. They didn't know about these appearances. And here's the thing. They're stuck here. They're stuck thinking, the tomb is empty. I don't know what's going on. I saw Him die. Instead of here on the road with this person who's just making their hearts burn, they're stuck in the wrong place. And so they fail to see something. Now, I can't be too hard on them because it says God prevented them from seeing. But there's a lesson here for us. And I got George's permission to tell this story, so I'm going to tell this. We had our Bible study last Monday, The Jesus I Never Knew, and we were talking about when you think of Jesus, what do you think he looks like? And George didn't tell this during the Bible study, but he told it to me afterwards, that you and some others, I don't know who all, went with Pastor Jamie up to Des Moines and visited these homeless people. And you bought some shoes for one of the guys. And he said, and George said, he long, dirty, scraggly, kind of curly hair and stunk. And George, you bought him these shoes, and then he gave you a big hug. And you said that when you picture Jesus, you picture that homeless guy. That's perfect. Like, Jesus spent all his time outside, and we don't know, it never mentions him washing. There's no showers. And so, what do we think Jesus looks like? But even more, for the road to Emmaus for you. See, these two disciples missed Jesus because they were stuck in the wrong place. I believe that maybe not every day, but often, many times, Jesus manifests himself to us in other people, and we miss it. We miss it because our eyes aren't open. We miss it because we're in the wrong place in our mind. They're still back pondering about the empty tomb, trying to figure out what that means. And we miss it. So here's just a great lesson for us, is to have our eyes open, to know that at any time, in any person, God could manifest Christ to us. If God can manifest Jesus to George, a homeless guy, he can manifest himself in anybody at any moment in time. When we least expect it, we can see Christ in that person, active, working, coming into the world. I just encourage all of you in your daily lives to keep your eyes open so we can see Christ in each other. We can see Christ in some of the people we least expect it in. So let's pray that we will have the eyes to see. Father in heaven, we give you thanks this day for this wonderful story with all its twists and turns, that Jesus was right there with these two disciples. And finally, he revealed himself to them through the simple act of sharing a meal. And we pray, Lord, for each of us here, that you would give us the eyes to see how you manifest yourself in the lives of those around us. Help us, give us the expectation to look for you, to expect to see you. To expect to see you sometimes in people we see every day, family members, co-workers, people we go to school with. And help us to see you in unexpected places. Chance encounter out in public somewhere. Anywhere, Lord, just keep our eyes open so we can see you and know that you don't forget us, that you don't abandon us, that death couldn't stop you from being there for us. So help us to see you. Give us the eyes and give us the hearts to hold on to and to grasp that presence when we find it. And we pray for this in Jesus' name. Amen.